I'm Darryl Yokley. I'm here with a lot of my good friends from the city of brotherly love, or from Philadelphia, talking about the history of the great club, Ortlieb's Jazzhaus. I'll first introduce the former owner, Mr. Pete Souders. There, how you doing, Pete?
Hello there. Good to see you again, Darryl.
Oh, good to see you. Yes. Oh man, then we got the legends of jazz. I remember it doesn't make Terell too comfortable hearing legends, but I just kind of default to say that all the time. And we just had them on a episode. We have Terell Stafford and Tim Warfield with us again, joining us. And then who else do we have? Oh, that's right. We have the original OGs of the Tuesday Night Jam systems. Some of the original OGs, Mr. Bryon Landham on drums and Mr. Mike Boone on the bass.
I got lost here. Wait a minute, I'm coming back.
Oh, okay, you with us, Byron?
There we go.
Byron's there.
Okay. Yeah, welcome, gentlemen. It's been a minute since I've seen all of you at the same time.
How you doing, Darryl?
I'm doing good.
Putting us together.
Yeah.
Wow.
See you, brother.
Great.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've just been thinking it'd been nice to kind of get together and talk about Ortlieb's, and I think this kind of is spanning quite maybe the whole history of the club here with you all. So I'm glad everyone's here to put their input in there. I guess I'll start with, and this anyone can answer this and jump in. How do you feel maybe Ortlieb's has shaped the history and maybe the culture of jazz in Philadelphia? I'm coming out hitting hard, right?
Yeah, that's a wide sweeping question.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I can jump in and give my perspective. But I mean, you guys have been there a lot longer than me. But when I came to Philadelphia and Tim and I came to Ortlieb's, the thing that I found most interesting and fascinating about the place was that it always was a family feeling. As soon as you step foot in the door, it was always very welcoming. You know, my first experience was there with Tim and Shirley Scott and Mickey Roker and Arthur Harper for a jam session. And the things that I'll never forget is that Shirley always welcomed people up with a smile. She would always tell you what you needed to work on in a very nice way. She'd always tell you, she would share etiquette, don't play too long, don't play on a song, you don't know it, and all those things, learning the etiquette, learning this family feeling, it's infectious. You pass it along to other generations, or if you don't pass it along, they're there to observe it. So I think it was as far as I'm concerned, it was a huge part of the scene in Philadelphia from my perspective, being a newer Philadelphian than most people here on the screen. And it still, to this day, has an impact on the community and has an impact in education and music, because we always refer. You guys remember Ortlieb's? We tell the students, you guys remember, you weren't there for Ortlieb's, but let us share what it did for me, what it did for Tim, what it did for the history of the music. So Ortlieb lives on, and it will continue because the impact it's had in our hearts.
Most definitely. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, because I know for me, I came in. I think I told maybe one of the other videos, but I mean, I came in the second coming, so to speak, after Pete had sold the club. But I had my experience with that, but it's nice to hear, the stories about Shirley and stuff. I remember I actually did a one-on-one with Pete, and he was giving us a brief interview about a history about how the club started. So Shirley, you actually called Shirley to do that session, right, Pete? Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. As I told you, the first person told me to give her a call. I was searching around. I started the jam session right away on Tuesday nights, almost a week after I bought it, middle of September of '87. But then I was trying to figure out who to use for for rhythm section, the remainder of the week, maybe 2 more weeknights in the weekend. And George Towns, vocalist, wonderful vocalist in the tradition of Arthur Prysock and guys like that. He said, well, call Shirley Scott. And I said, well, are you serious? Shirley Scott. I thought that was kind of like asking God to come play in your house, And then Fred Miles said the same thing to me. He was the guy that ran around all the clubs, had a little music flyer that he would get everybody to buy a $10 or $15 ad in. And that's how he put it together, you know, Gertz and Natalie's and all these places. He'd run around and he'd get these little ads, what's happening this week kind of thing. And he said, call Shirley Scott. So when he said it, I thought, okay, well, okay. No, that's twice I've heard this. So I did. I called Shirley and you know, we talked a little bit, and I think she liked the fact that I didn't want to just run jazz on a Saturday night or a Friday and Saturday or something like that. I wanted the music to be the focal point, not just background music, those two things, you know. So she agreed to come in, and she started on October 1st, which was a Wednesday night of '87.
Mm-hmm.
Walked in with Bobby Durham and Benny Nelson. And that was the trio for the first 3 weeks. And then Bobby had to go out on the road with Oscar Peterson. So the fourth week she came in with a big smile on her face and Mickey Roker walking behind her. And it was unbelievable, you know, what those people did to the place. I had a friend who was a carpenter, and he did some work for me. He's passed away now, the nicest guy in the world. And he said he came in there this one night. It was early in the ball game, you know, probably that first quarter, you know, the end of '87. And this guy said to him, do you realize who that is up there on that piano? That's Shirley Scott, you know, because the guy knew, and you know who it was. And I mean, I think a lot of people didn't realize what was going on until a little time passed, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that was how it all started. And then Shirley had to go back, as I mentioned to you before, Darryl. She had to go back and honor a commitment at the Adams Mark Hotel the first quarter of 1988.
Mm-hmm.
And she was there. Actually, she was there 2 months. I think she came back a month early for some reason. Maybe she got tired of the commercial scene or something. I don't really know what, but she came back, I think, in March of '88. And then she was there all the time. The first couple of years she was there, she was actually there 4 nights a week. One night with a quartet, one night with a trio, and then guest artists on the weekend.
Oh, man.
So I look back, I have some of my calendars here where I can sort of trace what was going on, you know.
Oh, nice. So were the calendars orange back then too? Did you have the orange calendars then as well?
Oh, all different varieties and shapes and colored paper of all green. I have green here, blue. Mailed them out. I had a mailing list. Mailed them out for a little while. You know.
Oh man,
what a pain that was. Oh my God.
Oh man, yeah, everyone loves email now.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. I want to ask. I know Tim and Terell, you all came in. You said around the late '80s. Is that right? You started going to Ortlieb. Is that correct?
Yeah, probably early '90s, late '80s. Yeah, '89, '90.
'90s, yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Tim, I'm remembering that you came into the jam session on a Tuesday.
Yes.
And it was our regular, I don't know what, I can't find, but then I took your card, and later on, when I called you because somebody called out and I called, hey, can you fill in Friday night?
Bootsy Bar.
I don't know when that was. I can't find it on my calendars. Might have been 90.
90. I think it was 90. That sounds about right. Because I think I came in like right on the cusp, like between, like as we were going through a year change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would make sense. The first time you two guys were there together, according to my calendars, was October 30 and 31 of '92. But it could have been earlier than that because I am missing a few calendars.
Mm-hmm.
But from then on, you were there 3 times a year or something like that.
Yep, and thank you for
together
that.
with Shirley.
Yeah.
But when I called Shirley, it's funny. When I called Shirley to say, so-and-so called, might have been Bootsy, but somebody called out. They had something happened and they couldn't come Friday night. I said, I have this other fellow, you're really going to like this guy. And Shirley was on the phone, so she couldn't give me the stink eye, but she's like, I could tell
Stink
it.
eye.
Well, I could tell it's like, well, I'll believe that I'll like this person when I hear them, because Shirley and Mickey had high standards. You know what I mean? You know, they had to hear it. And I was sometimes astounded by some of the people that I thought they would think were very good, and they did not necessarily think so, you know. So, but when you got there, Shirley says, well, where did you come from? It was love at first sight or first hearing.
Oh man. It was honor from that day to eternity. Trust me.
Oh man.
Well, we all learned so much from her, and I'm still, I just have the CD in my car of her. Have you ever listened to her version of Skylark? It's like a extended music lesson of how to let the music breathe, and how to let the people hear the rest of the rhythm section, and how to build a solo.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man. That's quite some history already right there. Actually, I want to quickly jump to include our new guests. I want to ask Byron and Mike, when did you all start going to the club to Ortlieb's?
Well, I started going to Ortlieb's, I think, probably when it opened. I have to look far back, but I know that Fareed Barron had been living there, and me and Fareed Barron and Matt Parrish kind of became the trio. And actually, a lot. Mickey Roker had been on the road a lot. Mickey and Bobby. So I used to work with Shirley and Arthur a lot. And I think I was 17 or 18 years old, and it was a terrifying situation because it'd be like, you know, if you were playing something silly, she'd say, "Hey, don't do that," and okay. But I was so young, and it's weird for me because every time I think about it now, I get kind of saddened because I think I took that part of my life for granted. You never realize what you have when you like Ortlieb's is an institution. Ortlieb's is a Hollywood Bowl, is Carnegie Hall, is Mittens Playhouse, and it's Birdland all wrapped up in one. That's what we have, and I was fortunate to be a kid to grow up. And you know, people say like when you're young, you don't know any better, and I didn't know any better. And I'm like thinking these people now look back on it. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize what I was in the midst of, and I'm thankful. I'm like praise God every day that I was able to be. That really shaped who I am, not only as a musician but as a person, and being able to let people know, to let future generations know about all the diversity and adversity, all kinds of shit that they deal with in terms of music, and how important it is to keep the establishments that we have. Things like Ortlieb's, it's so important to try to keep them alive. If we can't do it monetarily, but at least in our hearts and spiritually, you know.
Well, most definitely. Mike, when did you start coming onto the scene? Cause you were originally from Rochester, New York, and then did you come from Rochester to Philly?
I'm originally from New York City. I went to school in Eastman School of Music, which was in Rochester. So I was up there from 1974 to 79. Came back to New York for a little bit. The scene had started to kind of change. Music was shifting. And I had met a young lady on the road who was from Philadelphia. And she convinced me to move there like around 85. So I met Tony Williams, or the sax player, and I started doing some gigs with those guys up in the West Oak Lane section. I didn't get to Ortlieb's maybe a little later than Byron, probably more like 93, 94.
That sounds about right.
93, 94.
I know that Sid started playing with the.
You know, when I moved.
Oh, sorry, you broke up there for a little bit, Mike.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was an electric player, and I would hear Arthur and Shirley and Mickey, and you know those three. I mean, just to back up, they just represented the best in jazz. Period. I mean, like Shirley I got to spend a lot of time with her, especially when she got sick. And a lot of people might not know, but she sat at the feet of Red Garland, and she just, and she was in a band with like Mr. C with John Coltrane. I mean, Shirley is as heavy as any pianist. Anybody.
Absolutely.
Arthur Harper came up. I'm sorry, hey, I gotta go there. Arthur Harper came up with Jimmy Garrison, this other guy, Reggie Workman, all those guys. I think Reggie Workman marries Arthur's sister. Arthur could have played the train. He was as heavy as anybody. Mickey, we all know Mickey. He's on, it's like Mickey. So to have that trio like 4 nights a week, like them playing and listening and playing, not playing a bunch of shit, just listening and playing on the highest level, and just like it's like they, oh my God, it's like it was just amazing. I just kind of wow, like you said, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what the question was, but that's when I got there. And then Byron and I, we started playing, and I like that. And then we stared playing the Tuesday.
I think we started the trio in '94. It was '93 or '94. We started.
I looked at that, Byron. You guys started as a trio, November of '95.
95.
Okay,
November of '95, and or October, and before that, Sid had been playing, alternating with Eddie Green and or Fareed at one point in time with Billy James.
Mm-hmm.
That was and Bill Zeno on bass.
Bill Zeno,
yeah. That was the trio for a while, and then you guys took over November of '95.
Yeah, so
and then on, and that was 12 more years after that.
How about that?
Oh man.
That was wow for me. I mean, playing with Sid, the late great Sid Simmons. I've been crying the whole time. So I'm trying to get it together. And Byron, who was an authentic jazz drummer. Anyway, with those guys and Pete Souders, I mean, we just night after night. I mean, those are like lessons. I look at it. I mean, we were getting taught on the bandstands. It's like a whole lot of stuff, and like Terell said, etiquette, everything. It was just kind of like it just kind of kept going. It was just wow. It's kind of overwhelming to think about it. That wow, we were privy to that. Really, we were really blessed because not everybody had that. Everybody in New York, they're listening to the same thing, just the masses. You had these duplicates. There was only one Shirley Scott. There was only one Arthur Harper. There was only one Mickey Roper. There was only one Bobby Dorm. There was only one Sam Dockery. Let's not forget about him.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's only one Johnny Coles. There was only one Bootsy Barnes. There was only one Larry McKenna. There was only Evelyn Sims. We had a nice little pocket of these like heavy musicians that were really part of the infrastructure. I'm getting deep on my shit, but
no,
y'all know what I'm saying. I'm just not good at articulating, but to have that, especially that sweet spot, that the '90s, when we could, come in here, oh my God, it was really legendary. It was all of that stuff, and it was like a speakeasy and like all of it. Because sometimes I remember one night that
Pete walked forward.
and we played till like 5 a.m. or something. It was crazy.
Yeah, Philip Harper's night. That was Philip Harper was the guest.
Yes, remember that? You remember that, right? Oh my God, that was insane. Oh Lord, man, they should have shut it. Oh,
everybody came in. Everybody came in from everywhere. I think Oren came down from Jenkintown, and
was there.
Pembroke came in from downtown.
Broski was there. Ralph, there was a bunch of guys that left. Ralph Bowen was there. He didn't even stay around. Like the whole Shirley was on the gig, and Tim and that trio, they left, and the whole crew came in. I think Philip Harper was on. I think I was, and then Oren got on the piano after the last call. Somebody said, lock the door. He started playing something, and it went to like, I left at 5 o'clock. I don't know what the hell was going on after. I left my bass. Somebody, played, and I just had to get out of there.
Yes, man.
Yeah, that was one of those nights. Somebody should have had that was like a legendary night for sure.
Oh
Real
man.
simple. Real simple.
Oh,
Sorry, I don't mean to just. I'm sorry. I just.
oh, it's all good. It's all good. This is what this is for, is sharing these stories. Yeah. Actually, I think there was. I think there's one CD that's entitled Ortlieb's where there's some of the nights documented. Is there any more? Is there any recordings of like some of the nights that are out there, or like some of the shows from there that maybe I
Yeah,
don't know about?
I did that box. You know, there's a whole live at Ortlieb's Volume 1 and 2. So
Okay.
Roger
Yeah.
Plato and myself and the engineer Dave Stoller, I have some of those. You know, I have a box full of them. Yeah. And they just kind of document everybody that's in the circles is on that thing. And we took some live stuff, and I wanted to. I knew back then, and that came out in 2001. So we're really 20 years past that. I knew this was an important place, so I knew back then that I just wanted to just grab a little bit of it. So fortunately, some examples: Arthur Harper, Shirley, Mickey, those guys, Bobby. They're all.
Man, you had John Blake on there, man. John Blake was even on that.
He's on another one. He's something that Sid and that's another project. I'm talking about something we did like 20 years ago. Way back.
Yeah. You got Jimmy Oliver on that.
Yeah, I got them all. Evelyn Sims. I got Tim and Terell. I got a duet with. I got Ori Kane playing. I got like a lot of people. Now that I think about it, I kind of got like most of the folks that were in there, like kind of on a regular basis. Evelyn Sims, we got her. Later we did the trio thing, but so the question is, because I knew that was going to be a special place, and I knew that we just had to get it. I also knew that I saw Smalls. To be fair, Smalls Underground, which is now Smalls Jazz Club, they had done a similar thing a couple of years ago, but they were kind of doing a similar thing, even though it was more seedy back then. It was more like literally underground. I think or at least we had a little bit more polish. We had food in there. They just had a lot of cats hang out, but they did a CD where they kind of documented some stuff. So I kind of followed that lead. I think, well, fuck, we got like Shirley Scott, all these people. So that's what that came from. So yeah, I have a box, and I'm sure Roger has several box loads where he's at. Roger Field, cool. For those of you who don't know.
Oh, nice. Yeah, man. So it's good. I'm glad it was documented. That's amazing.
Yeah, we got it. So we're hopefully if anybody's interested, it's there.
Yeah, maybe if there's anywhere to buy it online, we'll put the link in the description. To spread the.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, I think it's online. It's on. How was it? What was Jim Miller?
Maybe.
Froze.
Yeah. We'll go get him back here in a little
Clouds
bit.
record label. But yeah,
There you go. Okay. I think it came through. It kind of froze there for a second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm driving, and I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. That's what happens when you big time, right? I gotta dig at Mike real quick. It's like,
no, it's not big time. It's not big. I'm driving Nissan Rogue. Please, I got to do something. I think this technology is me paying my cell phone bill and knowing how to press the right button. Ain't nothing big about this at all. Y'all stop.
Oh man.
I just hope the airbags don't deploy.
Right.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm going nice. I'm doing fine.
Oh man. So I actually got a question because I wasn't there in the first coming to Ortlieb's. This might not be so much as far as the cultural aspect of things. This is kind of my own personal curiosity for you all. I heard about Peggy, the bartender. Her Long Island iced teas used to be legendary.
Oh God!
Can you describe them? Any of y'all who had them?
I'll pitch in on that one. There was Peggy. Peggy made great drinks, and she made the best martini I ever tasted. But if anybody remembers Una, and she passed away, and I often wonder if this was early COVID because she passed away New Year's Eve just before it hit, and she had put something out on Facebook that she never had anything hit her like that. Anyhow, that's beside the point. She would make these great Long Island iced teas where she'd take 3 bottles in her left hand and 2 in her right hand and pour all 5 things into the glass at the same time. It was a show. It was a regular show. And Orrin Evans that was his go-to drink at the time. So you can ask. We should have got Oren on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember. Yeah, 'cause, yeah. Even when I moved to Philly, that was still Orange drink. Maybe it still is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember there was a couple of times we got on the bandstand. He just say "Lili" for a Long Island iced tea.
Oh, okay.
Make something up.
Yeah.
That was the fun.
Peggy made good drinks, and so did Una.
Oh man. I kept hearing about it from I think from Mike and Byron and Oren, you know, about the Peggy's Long Island iced teas that she might have shown up to the club one night.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Because I was there 2007 to 2009, so this was after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she was there anymore. I tried to get the new guys to hire her, and I don't think that they did. But so I don't know if she was there when you were there.
Yeah. So I guess that maybe leads us to the second, not second one, one of the questions. What do you all feel might have been the vibe between, I guess the first time Ortlieb was, and then after Pete sold it, like on a personal musical level or anything? How do you all feel it was different?
Man, I'm not gonna go in there, but I'm gonna go in there.
Okay.
See what it is.
Don't go there.
Pete, it's Pete. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, Pete is the nucleus of all of this. He's the creator of it. He could say he owned the place. He could say what goes on, what doesn't go on. Correct. So that was the one thing that I found very interesting about Ortlieb. I was like, this doesn't really seem like any jazz club that I've been at. The music part, yeah, but this is a very high level, of even cats I don't know who just are regional or local. It's still a super high level, and you could see that there were there were ranks. I don't know if they were ever spoken, but you could see cats like coming and they were trying to work to get to a certain level, and they wanted to be called by certain people, and so they were working things and were happy when they got gigs with certain people. And there was also a super strong commune, like this family thing. It was super strong. I could see it in immediacy, right? Everybody was an auntie this or an uncle this, or everybody was something of greater endearment than just someone who's a masterful musician. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that clearly has to do with the person that's leading the idea. Pete really made that place a very warm, and I think an important term to be included in this is celebrated. It was a celebratory sort of thing. I don't think I ever went into Ortlieb's not thinking that it was an event, whether it was going to be an event, whether it was advertised as an event or not. You just knew the moment you walked in that door, if you could get in, the energy of it, you know what I mean? So it's like the energy of what it was. The moment you walked in, I could see somebody who didn't know him, who just got sent there going, oh yeah, we're in the right place. And you just go in, and that's what it was. And a lot of that had to do with Pete. He had a vision about it clearly, whereas the other owners, I'm certain, because I had some conversations, no disrespect to them, but they had a different idea about it was, and I do believe it was less informed about the idiom itself.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
you're very tactful. Wow.
I look at it too, like, Pete, if you look at it, a church, if you think about a church and you walk into a church and you realize that the church is nothing without the body, and the body are the people in the church. Mm-hmm. That makes up the church, and that's how I felt when Pete left. Ortlieb's followed Pete, and they should have changed the name because it had nothing to do with family or community or anything that Pete stood for. And so, and I say that in all sincerity because, I one of the fond memories I had is when, like Tim said, when you walk into Ortlieb's, if you were playing there or if you were just coming to hang, as soon as you had to squeeze your way through the club, you felt like family, and when you squeezed your way, Pete was so gracious to let you use his office. And I would always sit in the office and say, wow, this guy's running this club. He's letting me use his office, his place of endearment that he can find time to do the business to keep it running. And this is where it all happens, in this place, you know, but he would share that with you. You know, nowadays, you know, you can't find that kind of hospitality, you know, you can't find that kind of family these days. So that's why Ortlieb will always be carried on. And I want to make a statement to say that if there's anything I can do, and we kind of said this at the beginning of the call before everybody got on, but it would be great to reenact a night at Ortlieb's, whether we do it at Temple, or if we can find a location for Pete to come and lead a jam session with Mike and Byron, and let people just sit back and we can recreate in a way. Let's recreate it in a vibe that people can feel the warmth that was felt, you know, 20 some years ago. That should be our mission to pass.
Yeah, we should do a celebration, man. Make it a celebration. You know what I mean? Just in honor of what it was, because it really is that important. Because when you remove Ortlieb's from the equation of the Philly scene, and I'm not saying this for the sake of being dramatic, you dilute you dilute the essence quite a percentage when you remove Ortlieb's from the idea. No doubt, there's no doubt.
Mm-hmm. My last statement is that people from New York always talk about Bradley's. You hear Bradley's. If they came to Ortlieb's, they wouldn't talk about Bradley's anymore.
No, I heard some great things about Bradley's, though.
I used to love to go to Bradley's, but I tell you what, you know, the feeling that you get at Ortlieb's is there's nothing like it. I mean, Bradley's was killing. I mean, I was there all the time, but Ortlieb's was Ortlieb's, you know.
Well, that's funny you say that. I asked Mickey Roker one time, not fishing for a compliment. We're standing at the bar, and I said, Mickey, because the Bop Shop in Cleveland or El Chapultepec in Denver. I'm thinking all these places, everywhere he played. So what's the best place you ever played? He said, this place right here. I could have fallen over. I mean, I was not fishing for a compliment, as you know. It's just like, man, where have you played that you just love playing? You know, he said, this place right here. Now thinking about it, I could cry. You know, it's something else. And I don't think he was putting me on either.
Yeah. This is the best place. It's the best place. You want to talk about Philadelphia? Talk about what Tim said, yeah, because you got Shirley Scott. What you got is the bebop, where supposedly Philadelphia got its start, where it was the hub.
Yeah, the bebop and hard bop and soul jazz.
Transferring, now you got guys like Orrin Evans and folks. So you really got from the 50s to what's happening now and what's going to happen in the future. You basically got a big chunk of Philadelphia, and that came right through that club. Mm-hmm. And it's funny that you mentioned like a church thing, because, you know, Pete, I don't know if people know your father was a pastor or your grandfather was a pastor. So that spirituality thing, you just had that in you. So Pete, once again, I'm just going to put my part, just thank you. It wouldn't be, just like, hey, I'm just beside myself. I'm looking for her right here. But anyway, that was a special place. It was a special place. It was a church. It was all of that. I mean, how can you be a church and a speakeasy and a club and oh my God. And the other thing is the demographic of people, all sorts of folks was in there.
Yes. Thank you. That's really important.
The diversity, you were inclusive. You didn't say, you had all sorts of folks, and they were cool. Anybody from, it was amazing. Oh, wait, I'm in the wrong place. I'm sorry. But it was like the diversity.
Well, we went through some stuff in the very early days to get to that point. I'll tell you that.
Uh-huh. Oh,
did you guys, Mike or any of you ever hear about the night the guy walked out, got a golf club, came back in the front door swinging his golf club? I had to tackle him. Did you ever hear about?
Oh no!
So Philadelphia. We were at the bar. This must have been late '88. We used to have a happy hour, the first couple of 5 years we were there. We had lunch and then a happy hour. And we had a cool happy hour crowd, all the artisans, carpenters, contractors in the neighborhood, a lot of artsy people. But there was a few, I guess I would call them rednecks. There was this one guy, his name was Reds, and he was a fireman. He was a Philadelphia fireman. And I think he was a little bit of a redneck, racist, whatever you want to call it. He was standing next to Benny Nelson at the bar. And they were talking, having this friendly conversation. And I heard some of it. Reds was trying to impress Benny how cool he was, and he would go into the, quote, ghetto bars and stuff like that, and he got along with people. All of a sudden, he leaves. He splits. 5 minutes later, he comes in the front door, and the phone booth, this old antique phone booth we had in front, I see this golf club going through the air. He's swinging it, and he smashes the glass on the phone booth. I hear this. I run and I tackled him around below his knees, and somebody else grabbed him up top. He went down, and it took me about 3 years later. I was out at Margaret's house. No, not 3 years later. It was like around the time I sold Ortlieb. I said, Mark, what the hell? What was going on that night? He said, oh, he thought somebody stole his wallet, which they didn't, and he was freaking out, and he was drunk, and so, but it was an ugly scene, and we had one or two like that, but we kind of put that behind us,
Mm-hmm. Oh man.
Yeah, it was weird. Mm-hmm.
Oh man. And how was Northern Liberties around then? Because with a story like that, I'm sure the atmosphere must have been different than I guess back then too.
It was in transition though. It was a transitional neighborhood. It was diverse. I mean, the good thing about it was diverse. In fact, Larry McKenna told me one time, he said he admired the vision I had to pick that place, because I think in a lot of places, I looked at one place down near Broad Street in South Philly, never would have worked, never in a million years, because of where it was, if it was a one side of ethnicity, then everybody else would have hated it, and the vice versa, the other side. But in Northern Liberties, at least, it was, I don't know, it was, like I said, it's an artsy neighborhood. There was a lot of, contractor guys, and Ray King, who was right down the street, he was a glass and steel sculptor. There was all these kind of very arts-oriented people. So I just thought, and the building, of course, as I told you before, seemed like the right kind of place, But Margaret and I had looked at some different places, some over in Fairmount and other things like that too, as a possible location. The springboard, the original springboard for the idea, well, I told you in great detail the Coleman Hawkins story, which you can look back on, but I had been going to Gertz a lot and subbing for John Simon on nights when he needed off, and they decided to sell the building. And John Simon got me to go to a meeting to see if they would lease it if I could take over. And I met with these people. They said, no, hell no, we don't, excuse my language, we don't want a jazz club in this. The new owners of the building per se, we don't want a jazz club in there. So that kind of really got the idea started with me of, well, maybe there's someplace else, This would have been about 1986.
Gotcha. Oh man, it's crazy because I mean, even when I was there, it was a little vibe, but now I think last time I was in Philly, I actually drove by Ortlieb just to see it, and like that neighborhood has completely changed now.
Oh, it's really changed now, yeah.
All condos.
Yeah,
those cheap things they throw up with the boxes.
The cheap
boxes they stack,
No art at all.
I know I talked a little bit about it with Terell and Tim about the effect of that atmosphere and having the Ortliebs on their respective careers. Actually, I want to see if Byron and Mike maybe chime in on their perspective of how the club has affected or helped with propelling your respective careers.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, I didn't really, most of my traveling I kind of did before I, got to Ortlieb. I mean, I was on the road with Buddy Rich for a little bit, and I think thanks through meeting Terell at Ortlieb, he offered me a teaching position. It's probably like 10 years later. So, and like I say, Ortlieb's that family thing. It was a learning thing. So I think that's where I started maybe passing on what I had learned from folks like Shirley and Mickey and Harper and Byron and Sid to younger folks on the bandstand, and then that translated. So I think just more educational and just playing and networking. I mean, I know a lot of the younger players and some of the older players are still around.
Yeah. Here's a strange thing. I'll say something really strange about Ortlieb. It's like, I want to cry every time I think about this. Pete used to come up to me when he would be frustrated. He'd say, Byron, Ortlieb, this is eventually going to be your place. You do know that, right? And I think about that now. It's kind of funny, but I'm like, man, I wish I could have had Ortlieb. I wish it could be what it was, but everything changes. We know that. I am so blessed in the sense that I didn't really know what I was doing. Like,
How come I
was
can't
coming
hear?
up. Can you hear me? Am I gone?
Oh, no, you're still there. You're still here.
You're there.
Still here?
Yeah.
As I was coming up, being a younger brother of a musician, I was like always taken out to all these different spots, whether it was Natalie's or Lakey's or LG's Blue Note or Ortlieb's, and Ortlieb's became we became synonymous. It was like I was always in Ortlieb's because it was like, man, it was like, okay, Fareed Barron. I thought Pete was like, okay, I see some young guys. I want y'all to play. And I went for them. I'm like, okay, so I'm playing with Fareed Barron and Matthew Parrish, and we're all the same age. We're all 51 years old now. And it's weird. I just show up one week and I see Shirley Scott, and I'd be scared to death. And I remember saying something even more full start to Harper, like, you kind of remind me of Jimmy Garrison. He said, now what would make you think that? And it's like, man, I went through these deep stories where I was like, I said, I'm going to shut my mouth. I said, anytime I come to Ortlieb's, I'm just going to really try to hone in on what's happening musically. Like Evelyn Sims would sing a song. I never knew any of those melodies. I said, thank God I'm not playing piano. Because I said used to be like, look, you have to get Sam because I don't know the changes. So I'm thinking, I got to come up with these people that just said, oh, don't even worry about it. You do. And when you're young, you don't really think about that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so important to have that. Like Ortlieb's is like Snug Harbor, New Orleans. It's all that we have. This is our Congo Square. It's a village.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have that. And so many people, when they see me, they say, damn, you know what? I miss those days of Ortlieb's, or I think I met you in Ortlieb's. Anwar Marshall, he says, man, I came to Ortlieb's to see, I was like 14. He said, and you smacked the crash someone that was leaning, and it never fell over. It was just leaning there for about a half an hour, and it finally came back up on upright. I forget about all those things because I was so caught up in the moment at the time. Right. And it's like it's easy to be a man and think that things will always be the same, even if they're good things. You want to believe that, but everything changes one way or another. Mm-hmm. And the good thing about this conversation that we're having now, we're going to bring back something special, and we should bring back something special just to honor not only Pete and Margaret, mm-hmm. and Sid and Jimmy Oliver and Bootsy and everybody that put their hearts into it, but also my heroes, Tim Warfield and Terell Stafford. And you too, Darryl. I love all y'all. Y'all really, Ortlieb's is us. It is what we make it. It's a congregation. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And can I chime in with something? You guys made me remember something. One thing that people like Shirley, Mickey, and Arthur, they had the ability and the wisdom to pass along a great amount of information with a very concise comment. Like Arthur said to me one night, he says, every song has its watermark. Mm-hmm. And what he meant was every song has a certain thing that makes it what it is and makes it stand up and become a standard, Mm-hmm. Like it's so like da 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 da. That one's got that bridge in that song. That's what that song is. The descending diminished chords. But every song that became a standard has its watermark, and I'm like, holy shit, yeah, Arthur. And you think about the things that they told you. I mean, I'm still thinking about that 35 years later, 30 years later, maybe. Like such wisdom.
Pete, you talk about Arthur Harper. There was one night I was talking to Arthur and I said, Shirley just made a comment to me and Arthur was sitting there and Shirley's like, baby, you could stand to work on your articulation. Your articulation is a little soft. You could work on that articulation. And she started telling me how I could work on it. So I said, Shirley, how did you know all this? And she goes, well, I played trumpet first, but my dad didn't.
Yeah.
She goes, but I know the artist book. So she started telling me this. So Arthur overheard her say this. And so I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, my articulation. And Arthur said, yeah, you need to work on your articulation. I said, okay, well, how can I work on it? He goes, let's play together. So Arthur and I would go to nursing homes, just the two of us.
Oh, nice.
We would play these nursing homes and he would coach me. Nope, articulation's not there yet. You got to spit. Shirley said, you got to spit. It sounds like you're swallowing. You're not spitting. But it was beautiful. He overheard Shirley say something to me, and then he volunteered his time for us to go. He hooked it up for us to play these nursing homes, which was, a beautiful thing in itself. But, that's what it was about, man. It was about family. It was about, he heard that I needed help in an area. So let's go play and let me, you can't find that anywhere else, man.
Yeah, most definitely.
Man, I'd like to say something that kind of relates to a dynamic that happened at the club that we haven't discussed yet. But as soon as I mention it, everybody will probably laugh, which actually became a benchmark for the success of my own personal performances. The benchmark is based on Pete having to kick people out of the club. Because I've been to a lot of gigs at a lot of places, but I haven't been a lot of places where the owner had to kick everybody out of the club, and then there would be a big hang until wee hours in the morning in front of the club. So like a benchmark for me has been like, okay, when we're done playing for the night, do people leave or do they stay, right? Mm-hmm. How long do they stay? Because that's based on the resonance of what the group gave collectively. Like you gave yourself to a point where the people it's infectious. They can't get it out and they don't want to leave, right? Mm. And so I just remember all the times that Pete had to get on the microphone and like, get out. You got to get out.
I don't remember doing that.
He's like, you can't. There were a couple of times where you were a little bit irate.
The easy way or the hard way.
Yeah. It's like what do you something like you ain't. I can't remember the saying, but you're like, you got to get out of here. And then we would stay outside and let you close up the club, and there would just be tons of people out, musicians and people just rapping. And I think that really speaks volumes to the dynamic, or how dynamic of an experience you would get at your club.
Thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
I know we touched on it earlier. Maybe anyone everyone associated with Temple can maybe answer this, particularly Terell. You feel like having an Ortlieb in that kind of environment allow the university programs like Temple and U of Arts to grow, because there was this place for students to learn outside of the university setting, like it as far as affecting, I guess, maybe the jazz academia in the city of Philadelphia per se.
I mean, yeah, when you walk into Ortlieb's, it's if you put yourself in a student's position, when you walk into Ortlieb's and you can't get in because it's so packed, the impact that has on you as having a career in jazz is very powerful, because you're like, if I walk in the room and it's packed, hopefully when I play here, it'll be packed. Mm-hmm. And so that was the message to these students. I need to play at a certain level to have people come out and support me. So I think that was really important. And just when you finally got in and you heard the level of musicianship, I mean, you know, all of us travel, but, you know, we didn't need to travel to hear the level of musicianship because it all came through Ortlieb's. We didn't need to go to New York. New York came to Ortlieb's, you know what I mean?
That's right.
So from an educational perspective, yeah, students got to hear a high quality. They got to experience like joy. You know, when Shirley would play and people would lose their minds, that's a great thing for everybody to see. You know, you don't see that now. You know, people play and they start going crazy, and you know, everyone needs to be polite, but you could be completely ghetto in Ortlieb's and scream and holler and just express how you felt, and it was all good. You know what I mean? So I think it was really important for the educational institution. And Pete and I talked. We had, you know, Pete was great. He allowed us to have like a temple night at Ortlieb's, and you know, different students got to come through and play. And I think that was important for the program and for the students. So yeah.
Gotcha. See, and I mean, I remember you all talking about it when Ortlieb's kind of went away the first time the new owners came, and it definitely changed the dynamic. Do you all feel maybe that the whole vibe of the city changed when they closed up shop the second time, and then now because Ortlieb's just like not even doing jazz at all now? Like, how do you feel it's affected the vibe of the city now?
It was in transition then, bro. It was in transition. Like, if you noticed, like I noticed now, if you look at most so-called jazz clubs or institutions, everything's in downtown. It's like there's really not many things going up in like the northwestern part of the city. Or, I mean, I know there's some new things happening in Fishtown in terms of venues that are more privately owned. But, you know, I go back to what Pete was saying about, what was that town? It was kind of like the hood, but it was artsy at the time. And that's amazing. That's like we were passing through history and we didn't really realize it. And that's important right now. It's like sometimes you have a vision or you say something, you say, I don't know if this will work here. And sometimes you just have to step out on a limb. And I think we need to really find some more places. Philly has turned into such a suburb now, man. And some of the way it's gentrified in a sense is a little bit disturbing to me. But I don't want to blame that on any ethnicity or whatever it is. We have to try to find a way to make this music appeal to all people, and I thought that anytime I used to say to Pete, I want to talk on the mic doing the jam session. I said, I want to learn how to talk to people that make them feel comfortable. That make them feel comfortable about coming to share something, because we're all sharing love here. It's going to be music, and everybody's going to have an opportunity to add something to it. And that's what that's what the shit's about. I'm still trying to figure that out. I said, there's so many ways that we can approach doing something about it, but we should do something about it. I don't care how many Ortlieb's nights we have to have. If I have to cut my grass and invite everybody in my backyard, we'll do it that way too.
Gotcha.
All it's relative.
Yeah. So we got Mike back. I want to wrap up saying I think that Terell's idea about doing some type of tribute thing would be wonderful. Hopefully we can do something. You know, I'll definitely drive down and hopefully we can get the whole family back together and do it. But so I'm gonna wrap up saying thank you to Terell, to Mike, and Byron, and most importantly Pete. Thank you, Pete.
Oh, thank you. Drive carefully, Mike. You're almost finished.
Oh man! So hopefully we'll do a round table in person soon. But thank you, gentlemen.
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Indeed.
So we'll
thank
keep
you.
Contact.
Love all you guys. Be well.
See you later.
Well,
See you later, Byron.
Ciao.
All right, thank you, man. Thank
So long,
you
Tim. So long, Terell.
Great to see everyone.